Hello there. I just thought I would do a little talk. I don't know why I say that sometimes, because the little talks are actually big talks. And this talk is about non-violence. And it's about how fascism and dictatorship and violence and imposing your will like that doesn't work. You know, it doesn't work because if you're imposing your will upon another, even if you think you're doing it to protect your own rights and freedoms, but you're doing it violently, then number one, you're not very credible, because you're the mirror now of what you're saying that you're against. Right? And also, as a whole, on one planet, violence, you know, when you're violent towards another person, that person then really hates you. Right? So what violence creates, it you know, there's no chance of democracy and unity and togetherness and oneness and stuff like that when there's a society of violence. Even if you think that your movement is doing it for the right reasons, I'm sure that the system thinks that it's in the right. And this you thinking you're right and the other thinking they're right creates this divide and rule. This is the problem. This is what I try to explain to on my talks. I try to explain to my dad as well. But it's so hard to explain to people because they don't see. This is what I mean when I say that you need a spiritual awakening before you really wake up. Because most people, even people that think they're waking up, who think they're awake, they're not awake. Because, for example, they'll talk about, oh, I'm awake, but then when it comes down to it, they'll look at things from an asleep perspective. For example, thinking that you're going to use violence when the reality is non-physical, as science has shown us. If one is truly awake, then they know this, then they know that violence just adds to the problem. Why do you have to have violence to compete? That's what John Lennon once said. You know, but you see, yeah, what we need, what the planet needs as a whole, is it's obvious to see what it needs. It needs healing. But what, you know, this world that needs healing, why is it manifested like that? Well, because everything comes from within us. Right? Nothing is out there. We create reality from within us. Within us is our energy field, and we manifest as a whole the collective consciousness. That is, which is a distorted, divided consciousness. So if you want a better world, then look within yourself first. Right? Start look into the mirror. You want change? Look in the mirror. Change you. Now, if we all did this, or the majority, remember, your energy, you're interacting with the world. We're all interacting with the world as a whole. If we all change our energy field for the most positive outcome, love, for example, understanding, then what we're then creating is basically oneness, a collective consciousness of oneness, instead of division and disharmony. But it starts by looking within ourselves and healing ourselves. Not by thinking, oh, we need violence because we're protecting our rights. Well, I'm sure every fascist dictator thinks that they are doing it for the good. You see? That's what they all think. When you get racist extremists and that, you know, racists that think they're racist superior, they really believe that. And so they'll even be violent in order to get it. What do you think Martin Luther King would say to those in Black Lives Matter that are being violent? What do you think he'd say? You know, people should think about that. I'm not just talking about Black Lives Matter here. You know, for example, my dad says that all the time, and I try to explain, but he doesn't seem to understand that if you're violent, like I say, if you're violent towards another person, then it causes disharmony and a rift between that other person. That other person will continue to dislike you and hate you. Right? What did, like Martin Luther King once said, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. And that is the truth. Only love can drive out this division and hatred and violence that we have. But like I say, I can talk based on I had an unexpected spiritual awakening, and before that awakening, I wasn't doing talks like this. I wasn't giving a shit about the world. I couldn't care. And if I still was that same person, I still wouldn't do this. But then you start healing yourself within, and then your awareness changes. Then you want to help because you feel love within you. So that's how we change the world properly. It starts with you. This is why the Buddhists talk about power of silence. Silence is not violence. Silence is extremely powerful. And what is in relation to silence? Non-compliance. This is a revolution that's never been done. If the majority of the people were to not comply, put down the masks, not do the tests, not buy into the COVID, which doesn't exist. COVID-19 doesn't exist. It's never been purified to even show it exists. If we don't comply with any of it, they can't do a thing about it. But we're playing right into their hands by complying. That's how you defeat the system. You don't comply, but you do it peacefully, as a collective. If you have the majority of the people doing that, then it's over for them. And they know that. And this is the revolution, a non-violent revolution. This is the revolution that they're scared of. That's why they did kill Martin Luther King and others from years ago that had the same kind of way I'm seeing reality now. But it's true, violence just begets more violence. This is the thing people need to understand. When I say push back, that doesn't mean be violent. It means to push back against it. You know, I'm anti-system, but if I'm anti-system, that means I'm non-violent, because the system is violent. If you're against something, you're not going to be the mirror of them, are you? But that's what a lot of these so-called anti-system people are like, and they wear their mask at any opportunity. They're that anti-system that they comply and wear the masks when they're rioting. But it's laughable. You know, it's quite funny when you look at these people, how they're just mirrors of what they say that they're against. The insane leftist kind of ideas, radicals. But it's also tragic for the world, because if they're trying to make change and they're not looking at themselves, that's why they're so comical, because they're not even they've not made any attempt to try and change themselves. And like I say, that if you want to make change, if people want to make change, start by looking in the mirror. Start by looking in the mirror. Because if you can't change yourself, you can't expect change in the world. Right? So the best thing you can do if you want change is to change you and to change your energy. That's the Heart Math Institute has proved, is science by the way, and has shown us that if we're in heart coherence with each other as a whole, we heal the whole planet. Simple as that. Because our heart, in the heart space, we've got an electromagnetic core of all life. And within the heart space is that. When you're in the heart center, you're in tune with nature, you're in tune with everything. And this is what happens when you spiritually awaken. And we can do that just now if you want to. Right? But that's what we need to do. Get out of our egos. If you've not had a spiritual awakening, you're not awake. The whole awake term or idea, the whole label, saying I'm awake, that came from the spiritual community. Now everyone's calling themselves awake. They're not awake. If you were awake, you wouldn't be thinking of violence to do something against anyone. Because if you were awake, when you're awake, you realize all is oneness. And therefore, you wouldn't want to hurt yourself, would you? And you don't think of things like that anymore. Because now, when you spiritually awaken, you develop this forgiveness for yourself and forgiveness for everything else. And so you don't want to use violence, even on people that are hurting you. You realize that to solve the problem, it's got to be a harmony situation, and violence doesn't do that. Violence is the opposite of harmony. By hurting another person. Hate cannot drive out hate, as I said earlier, by Martin Luther King. So what we need to do is go within the heart center, spiritually awaken. That's how you spiritually awaken. Be present, go within the heart center, and then that it's been scientifically proven that you can heal your entire body that way. And then maybe you can start influencing other energies, because energy influences other energies, because we're all connected. And your energy, the space that you occupy, interacts with everything you interact with. And that's we're making change all the time. The only difference is it's negative change. So that's how you make proper change. You start being self-aware. If these people that want to be violent don't see that they are just being the mirror of what they say that they are against. Just the mirror of that. It's like I said, it'd be funny if it wasn't so tragic. But it is tragic, and we need to start looking at ourselves. The world isn't going to change through just me being spiritually awake. The reason people have had spiritual awakenings all over the world is so that we can be an example. But it's not my responsibility to wake up you. My responsibility is to be an example and to heal myself. But the rest is up to you, to everyone else. Right? So if you want the best positive change, it starts by looking within yourself. That's what it means to go within. And it's a deep path. This is how I spiritually awakened. I had enough one day, and then I started looking within. I didn't know I was doing that. It was a subconscious thing, but that's what I was doing. And then you start to change yourself, and then you are influencing whatever you interact with. That's how you make change. And I'm just going to leave it there. For latest talks like this, news, I research things all the time as well. Please do visit my website at www.lovelightfamily.com. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you.